All right, hello again, everybody. What's been about a minute for me has probably been a couple of days for you. I'm going to do another album song. Um, gonna throw shade at my dog because I actually nailed this in one take, and then he decided to bark, and then I'm on my fourth take now because my hand keeps cramping up. It's a very hard song for me to play, especially acoustic, but I need to get it done, need to get through it, so I took a couple of minute break just to get things going. My dog's laying down now because I scolded him. Not really. He's just being a little lazy pup now that he's finished doing his thing. So, two things. A, this song is not going to sound exactly how I want it to on acoustic because it's definitely a better song with a full band or at the very least, a couple other instruments because there's a vibe and a swing that doesn't really translate over when you're just doing it acoustically, but I'm still going to do it for you guys anyway. The second thing, and this is kind of a half joke here, the song is called Chicago Storms, and within 2 to 3 days, it's probably going to rain in your area after you play this video because I don't know, like my drummer, my bassist, he'd be like, all right, maybe we shouldn't play the song because we don't want rain the next couple of days. I named it Chicago Storms for a reason. So you guys, you've been warned. The rain may be coming. So let's get into the song and we'll do what we always do and analyze everything afterwards. Here we go. So here we are, back where we started, all over again. And I can't help wondering if it's all my fault, or is it unnatural problems that keep on rising? I think about it every night before I go to sleep. Try not to let it go and defeat me. But I've got Chicago storms running through my brain. Back to the grind, wasting all my time on just another day. Last time I checked, I've just fallen straight from grace. Last time I checked, I've got no more tears down my face. I think about it every night before I go to sleep. Try not to let it go and defeat me. But I've got Chicago storms running through my brain. Whew. So I was intending on doing a little solo, extend it, and go to the third chorus because that's how we did it. But my hand is seriously locking the fuck up right now. And on the risky chance that my dog decides to bark at something else, I'd rather not ruin the performance side. So this one's a little bit short. You're probably like, that's it, huh? Well, like I said, this song, we used to kind of jam and extend a little bit playing it live. There was a vibe, a swing that I hope you guys could kind of hear from it. And we would jam probably for about 2 verse lengths of solos. Me and the bassist would kind of alternate things a little bit. And then we were bringing into that chorus one more final time. So let's talk about the song, right? I wrote this a couple of practices after our first one. So I want to say maybe our third or fourth practice. And basically, I was listening to a lot of Jimi Hendrix, and double stops were fresh on my mind. So I was like, I want to emulate that sound. And I literally came up with that initial riff thing all in like one quick take. I was just like, all right, what is this shit? And then I ended up coming up with something. The chords took a little bit because I still wasn't really familiar with like the key of like playing in flats and sharps and shit like that. And I've never been a proponent of tuning down my guitar. Like if I can play a flat or a sharp, like I'm just gonna fucking do it, you know. So I was able to do that, but I'm actually getting ahead of myself. I do remember I wrote portions of the lyrics before I actually came up with the instrumentation. Now, if you guys remember what I said in my creative process, I usually like to come up with the music and put lyrics to it afterwards. Back in my day, when I first started out, I was actually the opposite. I used to write lyrics and then I would put song form to it. So I remember it was a heavy rain in Chicago. Another nod to why I called this song Chicago Storms. And I remembering part of that first line. So here we are, back where we started all over again. And I can't help wondering, is it all my fault? And then I couldn't finish it, but I went to the chorus where I think about it every night before I go to sleep. Try not to let it go and defeat me. But I've got Chicago storms running through my brain. So it was a both literal and metaphorical sense of basically Chicago is a very bustling, hustling kind of city, and the rain. I mean, it tends to rain here pretty frequently. Probably not like like stereotypical like Seattle or shit like that, but it tends to storm pretty frequently. And I was using it as a metaphorical sense because like there's always rain, there's always like a downer kind of mood and everything, and that's kind of what this song is talking about. How like there could be no sign of rain, and then all of a sudden Chicago storms just breeze on through, and then you're in this down state. So continuing, or to finish the first line, so here we are, back where we started all over again. I'm very stuck with the theme of kind of like repetition, where you're trying to move forward, but you still end up being in the same space. Kind of been a metaphor a little bit for my life. So here we are, back where we started all over again. I can't help wondering if it's all my fault. Which, in the case of my life, yes, but in the case of the song, no. It's kind of just like it's an analytical approach, right? So I was just like, what's going on, and how do I want to say it? This song doesn't have any real lyrical content, but it's more about the theme. And I guess in this way, this is my first song that I wrote where it's kind of just exploring a lot of metaphor and a lot of like, think about it for yourself kind of thing. So, or is it unnatural problems that keep on rising? I'm dodging responsibility a little bit. Sorry, I know my dog was just about to bark at those people who walked by. So I was waiting, I was seeing. And just like, I say unnatural instead of a natural because it's the play on just, Chicago storms. It's a natural nature event, but how it creeps up sometimes and how it could just be nice and bright and all of a sudden it's just storming heavy. It's sometimes very unnatural. And then that leads to our chorus. Think about it every night before I go to sleep. Try not to let it go and defeat me. But I've got Chicago storms running through my head. And that works on both parts. Sometimes the storms are really bad and it's hard to sleep. Sometimes the storms up here are really bad. It's hard to sleep. So, didn't really try hard on the lyrics. I really just liked playing the song. And my group liked it too. So, that's what I presented to them. Then I ended up coming up with the second verse, but we did kind of work on it together. Nothing really stuck, and I just flubbed up something when I got home after practice. I appreciated the ideas. That's one thing I love. My drummer and my bassist, they were always willing to help me finish songwriting, and I was always open to asking them, for stuff. And in some later songs, we're actually going to hear some creative songwriting for both my drummer and my bassist, and I'll try and remember what parts they did and, actually call it out in the video. But in this case, didn't end up being a successful writing session. So I went home, and a couple of days later, I ended up coming up with the second line of back to the grind, wasting all my time on just another day. And I kind of feel like that's what we do, when we're kind of inundated with, Chicago storms, both in the metaphorical sense of, what's going on in your head, and both when it's usually like raining really bad. You're not really you're like there, but you're not really there. You're kind of just going through the motions. And then the last two parts, last time I checked, I've just fallen straight from grace. Last time I checked, I've got no more tears on my face. There wasn't really any meaning behind that. It was more of just something to have something. But I did like the line, I've got no more tears on my face, because if you have Chicago storms and you're out and about, no one can really tell if you've been crying in the rain, right? Kind of thinking about that thing. So then going back to the chorus itself, think about it every night before I go to sleep, trying to let me go and defeat me. But I've got Chicago storms run through my brain. Didn't feel a need to change the chorus. And this is another one of those times. These are going to become signatures with a couple more songs that are coming on the horizon, where I'm just like, well, I can't think of a third verse, so this is a 2-verse song. We've already got Tease to Please on that. We now have this song on that. I think one of the two that I'm going to do next video is going to have it too. It just depends on which order I want to do things. I think I'm going to probably finish my album, but we'll get to that when we get to that. So, this is on my album. How did it do? I heard some good reception, but it was very few and far between. This was our third song on our album. So we had Miss the Train Blues, Tease to Please, and then we had a break from our bluesy kind of sound to something that was a bit more, even now when I play that song, I still hear blues, but for some reason I think it was like kind of like a jazzy, like more of a somber kind of contemporary blues. That's what I was trying to go for. Because after this song, and I actually should have mentioned where this was on my album on my last video, but the song that comes after this is Losing, Boozin', Bluesin', which should be the video that was before this one, so you guys should know that song already. I heard people liked this song, but like I said, not too many people said anything about it. So to me, this song is usually reserved for album filler, and I do enjoy playing it. It has a good groove to solo over. It's just 2 chords that go back and forth on the verses. And that chorus, I don't know why, I really like how I play the chorus, which is really just simple power chords. And it feels almost like it's in a key change because it's a groove change. We're going through the instrumentation real quick and we're talking about doing some mellow chords here. But then all of a sudden, just because my pinky is leaving this top part, and now we're doing a power chord of a G sharp, we have a really good tonal shift, even though we already kind of have half of that sound. And now we're just taking some dark edge, and then we're continuing it. So what we're doing is we're kind of playing a little bit. It's almost like the storm's getting a little harder outside. The storm's getting a little bit more wild, and then it kind of all of a sudden just stops. The Chicago storm staple comes on quick, ends quick, or it's a false stop and then it just comes back down even heavier. So that's enough of the metaphor of the song. That was the instrumentation live. We played this song live almost all the time. We tried not to use our album as our basic set list, right? So the only exception to that is we usually always did Miss the Train Blues into Tease to Please. But we may not always start with our set list like that. Every now and then we would start with this, and this would kind of be our mic check song on top of our first song. So whenever we were running late, I actually found myself gravitating towards doing this song first, because this allowed to do a mic check, a good balance of everything. And also had a good groove. We could keep extending the song if we wanted to, or we could just kind of cut it. Because you saw how short it was. If I don't do that extra solo and that extra chorus, it's like a 2-minute song, I think, maybe 2.5 minutes. But we could do upwards of 4.5 minutes with this song. So live, I don't want to write the song off, like I said. We would do it, and this was a song that I don't want to say quickly, but it was one of the last few songs that I ended up just dropping from my set list because I had other better work that I like to do instead. I actually kept Miss the Train Blues a little bit longer than I kept this song because I felt it worked good as a nice album, not album filler, but as a nice album segue from, all right, so we got some blues, now we got a little something different, now we're going back to blues, and kind of just stagger the rest of the themes in the genre on the album itself. But live, I just felt like there was better songs that I could do, things that were more engaging, and I just didn't really see the point anymore. To note, actually, since I'm going to be posting the album version, I'm going to make this clear. My drummer actually did the overdub for the electric guitar solo. He said this is what he heard in his head for this song, and I said, hey, I don't care, go for it. I was not a fan of dubs. In fact, any dubbing that happened, I think our drummer single-handedly carried. The only two things I know for sure he did was a guitar part on another song I'm going to do in the future, and then the guitar solo for this one. If he did any dubs for bass or any other instrument, I don't know about it. I just know that he did do some dubs. It's been 11 years now, 12 years. 11 or 12 years. I don't fucking remember these things, especially when I wasn't there to do it anyway. So when you guys hear the album version, you're going to hear the solo. That's what he heard. That's not necessarily what I played. I did more of a Jimi Hendrix bluesy kind of style. Think May This Be Love, Axis, or not Axis, Are You Experienced kind of mellow Hendrix vibe, not the harder electric, more experimental kind of Jimi Hendrix. And, looking back now, I could see this was an early attempt to sound like an Idol. I don't think I nailed that. I think there is a direct inspiration, especially with the double stop sound in the beginning with that riff. But the actual execution and playing, I would say I failed in that aspect of trying to sound like an Idol. But I succeeded in making the song kind of sound like my own. So on the scale of things, the song wasn't great. It didn't get the best reception, but when it did get reception, it was good. They liked the jam, they liked the slow groove, and from what I heard from an album pacing standpoint, this was a good way to kind of segue in from, all right, now we're done. Like, yes, you're blues, but now we're getting too much blues. Now we have a little break. We have something to catch our breath on before we go back into some blues stuff. So I would not say I'm as proud of this song as I am for something like Losing Booze and Bluesin', where I felt I was really capturing something. This time around, I think I was really just trying to have a song that didn't feel like album filler, but did the job of segueing everything. And then from a live aspect, it was really more to just have something to play live because I wanted to transition away from having so many covers and now focus on more originals. So, a song I don't really play much anymore, especially because, like I was talking about last video, I have really bad tendonitis on my hand. This song kills my hand. In fact, I remember when we were in the studio and we were doing these songs, I begged Tony. I was like, dude, I know I want to do everything in order, but please, we cannot do this song and then Losing Booze and Bluesin' after. We have to change it up. So, that was actually the only reason why we didn't record our album sequentially. We did almost everything sequentially except this song. We did this. Then we did Living for Today, which was the first song I already done. The video is already done about that. And then I think we attempted Bright Lights, Big City, which is probably the next song I'm going to play for you guys, if not another one in the next video. And then it didn't work out, so we ended up going back into doing Losing Booze and Bluesin', and then I've already explained the story on that. So, yeah. That's kind of it for this song. Not great, not bad. Fit the album, helped segue things, did okay live, did its job, but a song that could be lost to time, and I wouldn't be salty about it. There are some better works that I have out there that I think overshadow this song, but this is not a song that I would want people to forget in the sense of like, if people find this on the back catalog and they enjoy it, awesome. I know it deserves to be in that place, but it's not a bad song that I want buried. It's more of something, if you discover it, I appreciate you guys going through it. And if you don't, I don't blame you. There's much better work I have. So That's it for this one. We got another one ready and waiting. It's probably going to get posted a day or two after this one does, and then we'll hopefully get caught back up on our schedule. So I'll be seeing you all. Take care.